Property taxes are going up in Vermont, both homestead and non-homestead property taxes when you pay your taxes as a homeowner are increasing by an average of almost 14% across the state. And then also the property transfer tax is changing, making it more expensive for non-owner occupied buyers to purchase real estate in the state of Vermont. Now, in this video, we're going to be discussing, is this really a good thing for the Vermont economy? Or could this be detrimental to Vermont moving forward into the future? I personally think that an increase in taxes, especially the property transfer tax, although the homeowners tax is significant as well, that for the most part is going to be, obviously it'll be absorbed by homeowners who are living in Vermont, and then on rental units, that I think that's going to be passed down to tenants as their landlord's expenses increase. So regarding the property transfer tax, actually, first, let's dig into exactly what these increases are, talk about how much they're going up, why they're happening, and I'll give my opinion then. Before we get into it, my name is Liam O'Reilly. I'm a realtor with Jerry Riley Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs, feel free to reach out to me directly. All my contact information is in the description of this video, and let's get into it. So here we go. Lawmakers pass property tax bill, whittling hike down to nearly 14%. They started at over a 20% increase of property taxes. And the main reason, one of the main reasons is so they say here, we'll see taxes climb by 13.8% on average, stretched into the final hours of the legislative session. A spike in spending, so this is why they're hiking property taxes. A spike in spending coupled with the retreat of federal COVID-era aid created a perfect storm, and nearly 1 in 3 school budgets failed on town meeting day. So there's not enough money to keep the schools running. Now, Vermont's education system and the way that it's paid for is different than any other state in the United States. In every other state, you pay taxes, education taxes, for the school in your district. So if this happened in Vermont and I lived in South Burlington, my South Burlington education taxes would go to the South Burlington School District. That's not how it works in Vermont. Vermont, it goes to the state level and then gets distributed to schools all across the state. And so what happens is we have some schools in the state in less populated areas that have a really high student to teacher ratio. And if they were left on their own to pay for their school wouldn't be able to function. They wouldn't have the funds. So cities like South Burlington, some of the more populated areas pay for those schools to run without, even though they don't have, I guess they're subsidizing those schools is the way to put it. The money from the South Burlington taxpayer is going to pay to keep a school open in Fairfield. I mean, I'm not exactly sure the Fairfield school dynamics, but that's a good example for you because Fairfield is a much less populated area. Now, I think this creates troubles in multiple ways. Obviously, we see how things are failing across the state, and that's part of the right reason why property taxes need to go up throughout the entire state, as opposed to just in areas where schools are failing, is because the schools are subsidized at the state level as opposed to at the county or at the town level, like it is in every other state across the country. Now, obviously they say here a spike in spending as well, so we're spending more money, and at the end of the day, there's just not enough tax revenue coming in to support all the things that the government in Vermont wants to do. And this representative down here said something that I thought was really impactful. Yes, it is an average, but the average means that some people may be paying 5%, but other people are going to be paying upwards of 20 to 30% increases. So I don't know exactly how they're going to calculate these increases. This article doesn't break it down. I do believe it'll be higher. You'll pay higher taxes, and the increase will be higher for non-homestead properties, meaning people that don't live in their home are going to have to pay higher property taxes compared to people that do live in their home. But we'll have to see how it all shakes out. At the end of the day, what this is doing is it's making it harder for all home buyers to buy a home, right? Mortgage rates are high, home prices are high. Now property taxes are going up by 14% on average across the state. That just makes things difficult, especially for the first-time home buyer, but really everybody out there. And this includes investors and people looking to move out of state to Vermont, potentially bringing more economic activity to the state. or even vacationers who are buying a second home. Those people are going to have to pay higher taxes and might choose to go somewhere like New Hampshire, which has similar climate and offers similar amenities to Vermont. Now, another big thing that happened is the property transfer tax. So if you don't know what the property transfer tax is, think of it like a sales tax. Excuse me. Think of it like a sales tax when you buy a home. So basically, you buy a home just like you buy a shirt at the store. I know Vermont doesn't tax apparel, but in this example, you buy a shirt at the store and then they charge you 5% on top for taxes, for sales tax. Essentially, that's what the property transfer tax is. It used to be a 0.5% for the first $100,000 of a purchase price, and then 1.45% for the rest of the dollar amount after that, and that would be the total tax amount. Now it's increasing here to really, it's really hiking things on the non-owner occupied side of the purchase. So the previous rate of 1.25%, so maybe I was a little off on what it used to be, has now been elevated to 3.4%. These are for properties that aren't the principal residence, that aren't going to be owner occupied. So additionally, these transactions are subject to an increased clean water surcharge, bringing the total tax rate to 3.62%. So I think with the clean water surcharge used to be just 0.2%. Now that's going up. Yep, it says it right here. Used to be 0.2%. Now it's at 0.22. So that's where I got the 1.45% number. But and I see what they're trying to do by increasing that. Now, when we look at owner occupied residents down here, the reduced rate of 5% on the first 200,000. So now it'll be $1,000 for the first $200,000 of the purchase, and then it increases to 1.47%, including the clean water surcharge, as opposed to 1.45%. So owner-occupied borrowers are not going to pay as much taxes as non-owner-occupied borrowers, but so it doesn't affect people if you're looking to buy a home that you're going to live in, or buy a rental property that you're going to live in one half of the unit, something like that. But it does affect people who are purchasing vacation homes or rental properties that they aren't going to live in across the state. Now, why do I think this is so detrimental? I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to do two things. Obviously, they're trying to increase their tax revenue by raising this property transfer tax, and they're also trying to discourage out-of-state buyers from coming in and purchasing property in Vermont to create more housing and more home buying opportunities for people that live here, or at least people who would be living in their home, right? They're trying to make it more expensive for people to buy a vacation home here. The issue that I have with this is, first off, Vermont's biggest source of revenue as far as their economic drivers is the are the vacationers, right? People come up from Boston, they come up from New York, they vacation here. And so these people owning a home and having a second home here, as opposed to a state like New Hampshire, like Maine, like upstate New York, it's more beneficial to have these people in Vermont owning property that are going to come to Vermont, bring money from New York, from Boston, and spend it here in the Vermont economy. So what this is doing with this property transfer tax is it's discouraging those people. Additionally, when we take a look at the impact that this is going to have on homeowners across the state of Vermont, it's, the biggest impact is going to be in the vacation areas, right? Not many people in Chittenden County own a home that's only seasonal use. Now, there are some parts of Chittenden County where you can only have a home that's seasonal use, like on the lake. There's some seasonal only properties. And for the most part, people that have year-round homes in Vermont use them as full-time year-round homes, or at least have their homestead in Vermont. So that's their primary residence, and then they transfer, and then they might live in Florida for half the year. So they wouldn't be affected by that property tax increase, the people who are living in Florida for half the year, as long as they purchase their Vermont property as their primary residence. Now, as far as bringing more inventory for homeowners in Vermont and stopping out-of-staters from stealing homes of Vermonters, that's really not happening throughout most of the state. When we take a look at Chittenden County, which I think is the best example of where of owner-occupied buyers, right? Because Chittenden County Burlington's the most populated city in Vermont. Chittenden County is the most populated county in Vermont. And so most people who are living here full time. And we can see that in the data. When we take a look at the overall state of Vermont, we have about, this data shows it's about 15 to 16% homes that are being used seasonally across the state. I've seen some data that says that number is as high as 19%. When we take a look at Chittenden County, it's at about 2%. So about 2% of the homes in Chittenden County are being used seasonally as opposed to year round. Now this does include rentals as well. So rentals I consider as year round use. And so, but the seasonal use is really what I'm focusing on, because those are the people who are going to be affected by this property transfer tax increase. And these are people who greatly contribute to our economy. Now, when we take a look at Lamoille County is where Stowe is. The Stowe area has a lot of seasonal properties, right? That's a ski town. A lot of people who own homes in Stowe, I believe the ratio is about 60 to 70% of the homeowners in Stowe live there seasonally. So majority of those homeowners are seasonal. And again, that's a big driver for that economy, specifically in Stowe, but for Vermont in general. Are people coming to vacation in the state? So what we're doing now is we're discouraging those people. We can see 2,000 of the roughly 13,000 homes in Stowe, which we're looking at. I mean, if we just say it's 10,000, then we're looking at roughly 20% of the homes in Stowe are being used for seasonal purposes. That could be a big deterrent, right? What if people are looking at this 3.4% property transfer tax in Vermont versus, I don't know what the transfer tax is in other states like New York, New Hampshire, Maine, but presumably it's lower than 3.4%. I think many of those people are going to start going to those other states. So in my opinion, I see where the lawmakers, I see what they were intending on doing by increasing this property transfer tax and increasing property taxes overall. But in the long run, the consequences of this property transfer tax increase, I think, are going to be detrimental to Vermont's economy. It's going to discourage people from moving here if they have to pay higher property taxes in general, and then they have to pay a larger property transfer tax. They're going to move their money somewhere else, and that's going to be bad for Vermont's economy. Let me know what you guys think. I know this is a controversial topic, so I'd love to get your opinion on it. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.